All right, we're going to wait a couple of minutes here until some people can join in. In the meantime, just let me arrange this stuff a little bit. I've got a little bit of a different setup here than I've used last time, so bear with me on how this is all going to go. Hey, how's it going? The way I have the camera set up, I can't read all of the comments, so bear with me. I'll have to try to cock my head around and see, hey, what's going on? I've got a few things I want to talk about here tonight. Thanks for coming, guys. Good to see everybody. This should be a fun little discussion video. I will try to, as I was just saying a second ago, the way I've got this set up, it's going to be hard for me to see all of the comments because the setup I'm using gets right in the way of where all your comments pop up, but I can see them. By the time it's 2 or 3 comments down, I can see it eventually. Anyway, I want to go ahead and have this little discussion with you guys. I don't know how long we'll be, probably not too long. Hopefully my rigged up tripod stays together the way I want it to. I wanted things to be a little more solid this time than it was the last time we did this. So we'll see how my little jury-rigged sort of setup that I've got going on holds together. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into some of the things I want to talk about. And the start is some stuff for 2018. I want to talk about new knives for 2018. I want to talk about things I'm interested in for 2018. A little bit about what the channel will do. I'll probably in the next week do a full channel update video where I'll maybe talk about some of these things in more detail. And in fact, some of that video may be based on some of the points we make here. So let's go ahead, and I want to let go of this for a second and just see where it lands, guys. Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay, that should be a little more stable. There we go. Quit bouncing around so bad. Thanks. I'm going to need luck with the tripod. As long as I don't bang into it, I'm going to be fine. It's just kind of hanging on by a thread here. So let me see. Let me recenter some of these guys so they're in frame. Just ignore the piece of Scotch tape over there. Now, let's go ahead and get into, first off, some of the stuff that I'm interested in picking up for 2018. Yeah, don't breathe on it. I'll try not to. So let's first off talk about some of that stuff. And I'd love to hear in the comments, you know, when you guys want to weigh in with anything you're thinking about for 2018 as well. The biggest, I don't know, kind of hole I can foresee in the channel for this year coming up is budget stuff, guys. There really is. If anyone's got some good ideas for budget knives that you'd like to see, go ahead and let me know. If you have some that you want to, hey, welcome, Andrew. If you've got some budget stuff that you'd like to send me that I can do a review on, that would be great too. There are some things I'll try to get. But really, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's tons of budget knives that I could get and check out and feel excited about. This year, as I was sitting down trying to think of a good list of budget knives that are coming out, really, I was like, I don't know, the Steel Wheel Intrigue, I want to check that out. The Kershaw XL Natrix, the Kershaw Bare Knuckle, I guess. And really, that's about it. There's nothing that, you know, gets me really excited in the Kershaw lineup outside of the two I mentioned. You've already seen, I've got the CRKT Caligo and the Maven, which are both pretty nice knives. But those reviews will probably be coming in the next, I don't know, six weeks or so. So yeah, anyway, I feel like that's going to be a bit of a hole in this year's sort of upcoming knives or things that I'm really excited about. You know, there's nothing from Cold Steel that I'm super stoked about. There's nothing from Ontario. Anyway, that's just sort of me thinking out loud a little bit. Now, in terms of more middle of the road stuff, yeah, I guess there are some decent blades out there that I do want to check out. Certainly the ZT lineup. There are two that I'm mildly interested in. New Camillus knives. Yeah, I haven't checked out too much from Camillus, and they have some good knives, so maybe I'll have to go back and check that out as well. But you guys know, if you've watched the SHOT Show videos, you guys know that I'm pretty interested in a couple of ZTs. I'm really interested to see what ZT comes out with later in the year, hopefully at Blade Show. Spyderco, yeah, there's a couple of Spydercos that I hope to pick up and review for the channel and maybe even add to the collection. One of the things that I would like to do with the collection and really with the channel is add a couple of, one of the things that I enjoy doing for fun with my knives is taking some of the larger, heavier duty stuff out and just, whether it be getting ready for a bonfire in the backyard, instead of taking the axe, which any normal sensible person would do, I'll get a couple of big choppers. I'll get the BK9 or maybe even something small like the SE6. I've got a couple of heavy duty charades, and I'll take those out and do some batoning and work on stuff that way. And I find that a lot of fun. I find it enjoyable. I haven't done a lot of it on the channel, so I'll probably do that a little bit this year coming up. My son and I are actually planning a little winter camping trip. The new Southern Grind. Are you thinking of the little? It's like a Quaken style knife. It looks really small though, and I don't know what. I don't know what the release date on it is. Certainly want to try out some small fixed blades and see how that goes. There's some Bark Rivers that I'd really like to try. Anyone watching a big Bark River guy, I know people who are into Bark Rivers are like just dedicated to them. I've never tried one, so I do want to try a couple of those out and share those things with you. Probably on my short list would be the Gunny Sidekick, the one that Rob, the Apostle P, designed. I'd also like to check out a Bravo EDC. I do EDC a fixed blade sometimes. I enjoy doing that. I can already anticipate that one of the things that maybe I'm not going to love is the sheath. I've had the Guardian. I've had two different versions of the Guardian 3. I've actually had the two versions of the Guardian 3, one version of the Guardian 4, and now they've got the Guardian 3.5. But the sheath is really the thing that I don't love about those knives. Let's go ahead and get some of the knives out here that I've got with me. There's the Paramilitary 2. The Gunny Scandian 3V, eh? All right, I'll keep that in mind. Maybe add it to my list. I've got a couple of Bark Rivers that I'm thinking about. Here, of course, is the large Crooked River, lightweight flipper that's inexpensive. Oh, the steel wheel cut jack is excellent. I'm trying to remember now. Only a little late. Yeah, there you go. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to keep going. I was talking about some stuff that I'm looking at for the channel, some things that I want to add, maybe some different content that I haven't done before. And one of those things was some fixed blade stuff, both fixed blade, EDC fixed blades. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, EDC fixed blades. And also some of the heavy. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? I was talking about fixed blades. I'd really like to check out the Steel Wheel Roamer, those big heavy sort of survival knives in D2. I definitely plan to pick one of those up. They're on my short list. And again, for those knives, I don't know. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think a tabletop review is the best way of doing that. I feel like if I'm gonna do a review on those knives, it'll be out in the bush. It'll be, there's a park not far from where I work where I can go and kind of do some knife stuff. And of course, I'm going to get a message from Rogers about some stupid thing that's for sale in my area. I'm not even going to touch the phone to turn that off because you guys saw what happened earlier. It bounces around like crazy. Anyway, so yeah, those are all some things that I want to look at for the channel. And some things that I plan to be adding here shortly. In fact, I do have, thinking of EDC fixed blades, I do have something on the way, and I'm hoping that it'll be here like Monday. So probably a first impressions video Monday or Tuesday of next week of a pretty cool new for this year EDC fixed blade. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty interesting, I believe. Okay, so, oh yeah, some flashlights. I've got to do some, I want to add some flashlight videos. I don't know about you, but I can geek out over a flashlight that's super bright and shines a long way. No, I don't have any more folders on sale. Thanks, man. But yeah, a knife, wow, I'm totally thrown now. yeah, a flashlight that has really long throw is really, really appealing to me. Now, for EDC purposes, I love the Olights that I have. I have the SR1 baton. I have the SR Mini, the SR2, or the S2R. I think I'm saying them all wrong. And I love them all, but they're all pretty floody. And so, you know, what I really like to do is pick up a couple of flashlights that have really long throw. Just, I don't know, something about that really impresses me. So you'll probably see some of that coming along on the channel as well. So those are sort of some things about the channel that we'll be doing, some things that I plan to add to the collection, some things that I want to buy. Many of those you already know. If you watch the SHOT Show video, I think the only thing I didn't talk about there was the Cold Steel Storm Cloud. The Cold Steel Storm Cloud looks pretty interesting, and I'll probably check one out for review at least. I don't know that I'll keep it forever. I don't know if it'll be added to the permanent collection, but I am pretty interested in it. Let's go ahead and keep some things moving here. So a couple of backlocks here. I've had the DPX, which one? The small one, and I EDC'd it for a while. And I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it either. So if you look back in my videos, you will find a review of the DPX Hest. And I think I did a comparison video between the Hest and the SC Azula. And you know what, guys? The SC Azula, I know it's well loved. And so everyone might leave as soon as I say this, but I just can't get into the Azula all that much. And the reason is I find the blade grind too thick. So I don't find it slices very well, and I tend to use my EDCs, or I mean my fixed blades, a little more for food than I do folders. And so the fact that the Azula is so thick behind the edge kind of puts me off. The SE6, on the other hand, I find it slices better than the Azula. I love my SE6. I love the SE3. I need to pick up an SE4. And that may be another, you know, fixed blade video that you'll see coming this year. I think I was probably a little lacking in the fixed blade department, especially the EDC fixed blade department in 2017. So look to see that remedied, because there are some fixed blades on my list that I really want to check out. And as I say, there's some big ones too. I do have recently picked up a large Scharade. Can't even think of the name of it now. They call it the Bush Sword, and it looks pretty fun. Hey, T-Ready, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for checking in. Just talking about some things for the channel and some things for my own collection that I may want to add this year. Hey, thanks a lot. I can't see your whole name there, but first time catching a live stream. That's awesome. PowerTech flashlights. Cool. I'll have to Google that when we're done here. Anyway, so yeah. So far, we've quickly covered the fact that I want to add some more fixed blades to the channel. I want to add some more fixed blades, some more. Yes, I want the Spyderco Amalgam. That may be my favorite knife from SHOT Show. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that one. Anyway, yeah, so some large fixed blades and some outdoor stuff with those fixed blades, and then some cool flashlights. I'd like to add both of those, especially some flashlights with a really long throw are on my list for what I want to add to the channel. Now, since we're kind of, I don't know, I think that covers most of the new stuff that I'm thinking of getting and some of the things that I'm interested in trying. Let's see, TC20 from Through Night. Okay, thanks. I'll check it out as well. So now, yeah, I knew it was a flashlight when I read Through Night. So want a brown, Para 3. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get upset, anybody who's really into it, but I just I'm not into the Para 3 at all. So, okay, guys, I want to have another discussion here. This is a little bit different. You know, I thought because I was talking about the things that I wanted to try to do with this channel, there are some things that I want, that I look for in a YouTube channel. And I haven't always, you know, I haven't done a video on this, but I do actually plan to make a video and put it on the channel, sort of what I look for in a good YouTube video, and along those lines then what I try to put into a YouTube video, especially a knife review, and that's primarily what I do. And so let me quickly give you some points that I appreciate in a video. And if I don't see them, I may start to get put off a little bit, and you know, I may click away. Any interest in the ProTech? I haven't had too many ProTechs. The Cambria is a nice looking blade. The Kaiser Little River Bowie fixed blade. I need to go back and check out the Kaiser fixed blades because I haven't. I'll be honest. When I watched the SHOT Show video on Kaiser, I actually skipped over the fixed blades. I didn't watch them all. So I maybe should go back and check them out because they probably do have some decent ones. Anyway, let me come back to my next point, which is what do I look for in a YouTube video? I'd love to hear you guys add as well. Since I'm doing one as we speak, this could get interesting, but there are some things that I look for when I'm watching somebody else's video. One of the things I watch for is I want to see the edge of the knife. I want to try to get a feel for what it's going to be like in my hand. And that's a hard thing to convey. So talking about the details and talking about some things that pertain to ergonomics are definitely important to me. And yes, I am into firearms, and I'm into both restricted and non-restricted. I only have a couple of restricted firearms, but I do enjoy shooting them an awful lot. In fact, if you're Canadian, recently, and maybe the sale is all gone by now, but recently, which one is it? SFRC, the ammo source over in Kingston, had a really good deal on 9mm ammo, and I picked up some. Anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about here. Now that I said 9mm, this is probably demonetized. But YouTube videos, what do I look for? Yeah, I want to be able to check out the knife. I want to get a good sense for, you know, the aesthetics of the knife as well as the feel in hand. And then the other thing that I like to hear about are the finer details. So a knife like this, I can kind of tell you what it is in 2 seconds, right? This is a titanium frame lock flipper with a Tanto with a Spanto blade. Okay, done. But that doesn't tell you a whole lot about how it functions, how it flips, how's it going to feel in hand. Are you going to like the action? Is it uncomfortable to lock and unlock? Are they still allowed to talk in public in Canada? Yeah, we're still allowed to talk. Thanks to Jordan Peterson, everyone's worried about what he's doing, and the rest of us can kind of do whatever we want. No one's looking. But yeah, we can still do lots of things in Canada. It's not quite as bad as maybe Ben Shapiro makes it seem like in his videos. By the way, I'm a big Ben Shapiro fan, so don't take that as anything against the guy. Anyway. Let's come back to what we're talking about here. And if you can learn one good thing from a video. Yeah, that's the thing. I like videos that I can learn something from. I like videos that talk about technicalities. Now, maybe that's a bit of a geek thing for me. You know, I was involved in a discussion. Really, I just sat back and watched a discussion about whether or not, about the physics related to blades like the Grimsmos, where, you know, on a Grimsmo Norseman, you can see all of the CNC cut lines here. And there was a really good detailed discussion on, I think it was Canada Knife and Gear Facebook page, where two guys who were really into it just went into great detail about the physics involved of, you know, how that cuts and whether it makes it a more efficient or less efficient cutter. And the consensus was that it actually makes it more efficient because there's less surface area in contact with whatever material you're moving through. And it was a really, really interesting discussion. And I love that kind of thing. Now, the problem is that sometimes means that a video that I'm making where I get into some kind of detail that I really care about is going to get a little monotonous, okay? And you know, that's a risk I'm willing to take so that somebody out there can at least get that little bit of extra knowledge out of that video instead of essentially, you know, a 5-minute commercial for a particular knife. I try, you know, I have no intention of making commercials. I feel like if that's what I was going to do, you know, the company can pay for that and do their own marketing. I feel like I'm trying to make videos where a person can watch it and figure out whether that knife is any good or not. Hey, Doc, how's it going, man? Thanks for checking in. We're talking about what kind of things we look for in a knife video. We've already talked about some plans for the channel moving forward and some things I'd like to add for 2018 that maybe I was a little lacking on in 2017. We talked about some larger fixed blades and some flashlights and stuff like that. Now we're talking about knife videos. One of the things that I tend to do a lot of, and really it helps my thought process, and I hope it helps some of yours as well, I like comparison videos. So recently I did a comparison video between this knife and the American Lawman, and in fact that should go up on my channel tomorrow morning, so tomorrow's Saturday. And you know, it gave me a chance to kind of think through what I really value in a knife, and looking at another knife that's close, but which is also, you know, different enough. That really, I think, challenges, you know, me, and I hope you guys as well, to kind of really think, you know, what is a good property versus a bad property? You know, two knives that are really, really close together, you know, are they going to be okay, right? And so anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic, so let's get back to the main thrust. There were some questions about Benchmades coming into Canada, and I brought in the Grizzly Ridge, and it came in no problem. So you know, that's been my experience. Also, I know I ordered a knife from Knife Center not that long ago, and it wasn't a flipper. In fact, I guess this will be a little giveaway, so people who are watching this will get sort of a heads up. But I'm actually, you know, I ordered a Steel Will Resident from Knife Center, and I didn't get the message. And I know some Canadians have sent me messages saying, you know, I went to order a knife from Knife Center, and I got this message saying we don't ship those to Canada anymore. Let's see, is there any chance they will change the criminal code on flippers? Yes, there is. I hope it doesn't happen. I have a friend who talked to a couple lawyers who, although they wouldn't go on record and publicly say it, they did indicate that, you know, it's possible that in a court of law, an attorney could argue, well, hey, since CBSA defined flippers in this way as a prohibited weapon, you know, maybe we can get a prohibited weapons charge on this guy. So it's a little bit dicey there, guys. Hopefully not, and certainly nothing's happened yet. And I don't think you should go and take apart all your knives and hide them and you know, ship them over to the US or something. But it is a little troubling. Since we're talking about that, I have had a couple of knives come into Canada since the CBSA ruling with no issues. Okay, and I know some others who have as well. So I don't think it's quite as bad as we initially thought, but it's certainly not good. Ship them to me. Yeah, there you go. In California. Oh yeah, here's one thing I should have mentioned this. I don't know why they did that stupid law. You're right. Well, you know what? It's Canada, and there's definitely a strong bias against even carrying a pocket knife. You don't see very often. And thankfully, I went to school in the States, and I lived there for a couple of years. And because of that, you know, everyone around me, I was in Tennessee, and everyone around me was carrying a pocket knife all the time. My dad carried a pocket knife all the time, and I had kind of, but I've sort of gotten out of the habit. And living in Tennessee, you know, and seeing everyone do it all the time got me back into carrying a knife. And so here we are now, where often I'm carrying 2 or 3, but I have come back to my own side of the border. And yet, oh boy, I told you this could be a problem, guys. Shoot. Okay, I'm not going to breathe on the tripod again. Yeah, Frank, I know it is troubling for everybody, but I've got some knives coming on the way to me now, so I'll update as soon as I get 4 or 5 or 6 knives here without issue. Then I'll be able to speak more about this. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is what knives do you have, and what knives would I say, let's say I've got 2 kids, 2 boys, and my one son Joel, he kind of sees daddy's knives, and he's kind of into it as well. And so in fact, he'll get his tablet out and turn the camera on and make a knife review, and then show me the cool knife review that he did. So as he practices, you'll probably see one of his reviews on this channel, in the next few months or so. But that got me thinking about what I would tell, let's say my other son Asher, or even Joel, grows out of it and they're not into knives at all. What would I tell them about, if you're just going to be an adult male, or an adult human being, really, what knives should you have? What knives would I recommend? And I'm not going to have an example of all of these here. And I'd love to hear you guys weigh in down below. We're talking about outside of kitchen knives, all right? And so I would say to my kids, look guys, you should own one decent quality EDC folder that you can have on you all the time. And of course, I'll likely give them one of my own. I would also say you should have a decent fixed blade, right? Whether it be for camping or, for work around the house or whatever, a decent working fixed blade rather than a kitchen knife. A fixed blade that's got a little more substance to it that you can do a little more with. I think I would recommend that to just about anyone. Now, the next one up, I would say something for chopping. All right. Now, that doesn't have to be a large fixed blade chopper. I like knives and I like those large choppers. So for me, there's kind of an appeal there. But if I'm honest, I've got a hatchet and an axe. They are probably preferable, right? And normally when I go camping, I'll take a small fixed blade that I'm going to use for food prep around the fire, for welcome. We're just over in Ontario. I wonder if it's as cold in Quebec as it is in Ontario right now. Anyway, we're talking about if you're not into knives, and probably all of us watching have some friends. Maybe you're watching and you're not a huge knife guy. You just like to have, ultra cold. One time when I was in Quebec, I know this is totally off topic, but one time I was in Quebec, we were in a motel room and we put, I can't remember what it was, but it was like hard liquor, like, something that it wasn't beer or wine, it was 25 proof or more. We put it outside on the balcony and it froze solid out there. It was that cold that it could freeze something that was, that high in alcohol content, which is pretty hard to do. Anyway, back to our discussion that I was having about what I would recommend for someone who's, not a knife guy and doesn't maybe want to collect. And then the next thing I want to do, I don't even know, 25 proof or 25%. I can't remember. I was, this was 15 years ago. Anyway, so what would I say if you're not into knives? Oh no, yeah, it definitely wasn't 12.5%. It was higher than that. And I guess even at 12.5%, pretty darn hard to freeze that. Do I consider myself into prepping? Not really. I think my view of prepping is that, everyone should be prepared for the fact that life doesn't always go as we expect it to, and we ought to make some allowances for that. I always go out of my way to make sure that I'm not highly dependent on any one thing. And I'll share a principle with you that comes from rope rescue. When you design a rope rescue system, you have to make sure that your system is totally redundant. Okay, so that means if one point in the system fails, you have to know that that's not a catastrophic failure, that there's a backup to every system. All right. And I feel like in life you should do that, right? You shouldn't be totally dependent on any one thing so that if that one thing goes down, you're completely lost and hopeless, right? And I've heard people who do this. Prep patients before surgery. There you go. That's yeah. Okay, Frank, thanks. But yeah, that's my take on prepping, is that, no, I don't have tons of food storage and stuff like that, but I have taken steps in all areas of my everyday life, from traveling to work to food, everything that I do. I make sure that there's some redundancy in life so that if one thing goes wrong, I'm not totally out of luck. All right, that's my take on prepping. But no, I'm not any kind of serious prepper. Let's go back to what we were saying here, and that is if you're going to recommend, a few knives for someone who's not into knives, and just some good ones. So I would say, carry a decent EDC folder. Something like this would be great. The American Lawman, Para 2. There's tons of great ones out there. The average person, I would never say, get a Formax. I would never say get an F3, right? That just doesn't make any kind of sense to the average person. Then I would say, yeah, get a decent fixed blade, an SE4, an SE6, something like that. And then something for chopping, a hatchet, an axe. Depending on your purposes, you may need more than one of those. And then, if you're living on a bush lot or something, well, yeah, you better get a chainsaw and some things like that. But yeah, we could get into a whole different discussion now about tools that I'll try to avoid. Thinking of tools, are there any Wrangler Star fans out there? I do like Wrangler Star, and I've watched quite a few of his videos, especially the ones on tools I appreciate. So, yeah, I agree. Wrangler Star is pretty awesome. So the next thing I want to talk about is, okay, so this is a person who, they are beyond just, I've got a couple of knives to do the things that I need to do. They're at the point where they want to start collecting. And what would I recommend for that? Well, depending on the person's preferences, I would say, yeah, look at Spyderco, look at Benchmade, look at Cold Steel, maybe even CRKT, Kershaw. I don't know that I would go, if you guys are fans of Nut and Fancy, I've watched a lot of Nut and Fancy videos where he recommends a budget knife collection. So, you should own like a Tenacious and a Rat One and, a bunch of like a SOG Flash and a bunch of other. Not a fan of Nut and Fancy. No, I mean, I don't mind Nut and Fancy at all. I enjoy some of his videos. But yeah, when he was often recommending that people should collect budget folders, to me, that didn't make a lot of sense. Okay, now I have some budget folders and I think they're worth it, especially because of the channel. I think it's important to have a few budget folders around to compare. Yeah, I can agree with you on that, Hebu. I don't mind his videos. As I say, pretty entertaining sometimes. And then when they're not, and when there's one I'm not interested in, I just don't watch it. No big deal. So collection. Yeah, I would say if you're going to do a collection, consider what you're into, what size of knife you like, what designs, what designers. Obviously, probably most people who want to collect knives are not going to start right into collecting customs. And in fact, I don't have any interest in customs, although I do have custom knife makers that I like, and I have custom knife makers that I'm interested in. Brad Southard, Andrew Demko, Rexford, Brian Ty, especially the Canadian guys. I kind of am drawn to just because I'm Canadian as well. So, but maybe you look at those guys and say, hey, I like their designs, and then you can go out. Are you on any makers lists? I am not on any makers lists right now. The last knife that I was on a list for was my Typhoon, and it was great, and it's pretty exciting, but it's a long wait, and of course it's a fair bit of money, so I don't get into that kind of money very often. Although I will say, guys, after having a chance to handle the Holt Spectre, boy, I'm tempted to do. I'm tempted to go on those books for sure. The other knife that I'm looking at, although you wouldn't have to go on the books to get this, I would like to check out a Hoback knife, probably a Quayback. So that may be something that happens in the not too distant future as well, if I'm able to work that all out. Anyway, let's just have one last little discussion here about custom knife makers. I recently did a video on why that knife costs so much, and it was interesting. I got mixed feedback in the comments on that video, and I think I should have made it more clear that one of the things that I ultimately think when it comes to knife price is, look, the price is the price, right? If you're not happy with that, then you shouldn't buy it. And you don't really need to complain about it because no one's listening, you know. And the only other aspect to that would be, as a YouTuber, I can maybe get away with complaining about it a little bit, but to be honest, you know, if I harp on, well, here's an example. I've constantly said that the Spyderco Tenacious is overpriced, and guess what? Spyderco Tenacious is still cost exactly what they've cost for the last little while. Like no one's changing them. So, you know, I can complain. I can tell you guys I think it's overpriced, and maybe that bears a little bit of weight for some people. Yeah. What I'd really like to complain about, and what you'll maybe hear, if you knew me personally, you'd hear me complain about, you know, the price of gas and about taxes, but knife prices, you know, it's not so bad. Anyway, the one thing that I do think is, you know, I've looked at some equipment for making knives, and because it's so darn expensive, I do kind of go, man, I wonder sometimes how they can, you know, charge what they do charge for knives and still be making any money. Nice, Delica 4 overpriced video. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Delica. I don't mind the Endura, but yeah, I could see them being a little overpriced as well, especially with what Real Steel is doing in the market these days. I would pick the Tenacious over two of the knives on the table there right now. Hopefully it's not over these two. So anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up from there. Let me do a quick recap first, just so that those of you who just kind of came in can get a little bit of a sense for what we talked about, and then we're gonna call it a day. So I talked about the knives that I'm excited about for 2018, and you know, the Cold Steel Stormcloud, the ZT, the Spyderco Amalgam. The Spyderco Amalgam is probably my standout for the year. Crooked River and lower. You mean this one? This is a Curtis F3. Man. Anyway, that's all right. So yeah, there are some knives that I'm looking at this year and feeling pretty excited about. But I said way back at the beginning of the video that I feel like there aren't that many budget knives that I'm really excited about. And that's one of the things that I try to emphasize on my channel, is finding knives that are just fantastic, even though they're pretty reasonably priced. And I don't know, I just don't feel that there are a ton that came out this year. Hopefully I'm wrong, right? Hopefully there'll be like a ton of amazing knives that I've either missed or that just didn't get a lot of attention at SHOT Show or haven't got a lot of attention in the community. But that's one thing I'm a little disappointed in this year. I did mention I do want to pick up the Kershaw Bare Knuckle, and maybe that doesn't qualify as a budget knife. The XL Natrix I'm definitely interested in. The Steel Wheel Intrigue I'm definitely interested in. But that's about the extent of the budget knives that I'm really excited about. In terms of where some things I'd like to add to the channel, I want to have a few more fixed blades this year. Excuse me. If you're familiar with the Benchmade Freak, sometimes. Yes, I love the Benchmade Freak, and definitely it's weird the way they're putting out models that are so similar. Like the Benchmade Freak, the Benchmade Griptilian, and the Benchmade Grizzly Creek or Grizzly Ridge are very similar, and I can't imagine anyone wanting to own all three. Out of the three, I would definitely pick the Freak though. But yeah, you're right. There's got to be some sharing of the market there between those knives. Anyway, let's get back to our quick recap before I sign off here, because my voice is starting to die. But yeah, I want to add some fixed blades. Want to do some bigger, heavier fixed blade stuff, which will mean, you know, we probably go out in the woods and chop at things. Some extra flashlights, I definitely want to do that. And I did the review of the 511 Tactical Jeans. Don't ask me why I couldn't think of that right then. I did that review of the 511 Tactical Jeans, and I kind of like that. So I've got a couple other pairs of 511 pants, some that I really, really like, and I'll probably do reviews on those as well. We talked a little bit about YouTubers and about what I look for in a knife video. And the biggest thing for me is attention to detail. I can't tell you how many times I've watched, yeah, I don't have a lot of neck knife reviews. I've tried, I cannot stand wearing a knife around my neck. I've tried a number of different neck knives and I end up having to clip them to my belt. And a lot of them work well clipped to the belt, but it drives me crazy having something that heavy around my neck. Talked about YouTubers and knife reviews, and essentially what I look for is attention to detail, you know, pointing out the little things that, that are going to stand out. Neck knives suck. It's like a tie. Well, I do have to wear a tie an awful lot. Remember, I'm a preacher. But yeah, neck knives, I'm not a fan of neck knives. By the way, my favorite neck knife ever is definitely the Silent Soldier from Brose Blades. I would clip that thing to my belt. It's almost invisible. When you clip it to your belt, it's so small and it's so, you know, unobtrusive that people won't even know you have it. And it's just a great option. Definitely my favorite of all the neck knives, the Brose Blades, the Silent Soldier, in just about any variation except for the hook blade. I don't know. We'll have to see. I kind of suspect that it won't, because it looks like, one, there's a pretty healthy knife market in Canada. And so that means there's you know, lots of places within Canada that I can still get knives for the channel. And most knives, let's be honest, if you're a little bit creative, there's ways to not have to deal with CBSA too much. Anyway, want to go ahead and wrap this up, but we did spend a little bit of time talking about the minimum knives you should have, or what knives you'd recommend. Hey Vinny, how's it going, buddy? We're just wrapping things up here. I know, you just got here. But yeah, I would recommend someone have a decent EDC folder and a couple of work knives and then something to chop with. So, you know, let's say I was going to gift a friend, you know, a full, gift a friend sort of a full complement of knives. I'd give them something like a Manix 2 or a Para 2. I'd give them an SE, maybe an SE6. And then I'd give them like a hatchet. And I feel like that's going to cover most of the type of things you're going to need a cutting tool for, outside of the kitchen, of course. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to get going. Let's see here if I can shut this thing down without knocking the tripod over. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, guys.